Do you see anyone standing behind me? Mark's voice trembled. The phone in his hand vibrated slightly. I frowned. What? There's someone in the photo, right behind you. I walked over. The screen was green. The family photo had just been taken in front of the house. Me, Mark, and Noah. But behind my shoulder, right in the hallway, was a child. Her face was blurred as if erased, shoulder-length hair, white dress, standing still, looking straight into the lens. No way, I muttered. I turned around. The hallway was empty. The window was closed, the curtains unmoving. Noah grabbed my hand, eyes wide. Mom, where is she? I swallowed. There's no one. It must be a reflection of the light. Mark forced a smile, trying to act normal. The camera sometimes gets the wrong photo. Can you delete it? But when he was about to press delete, the screen went black for a second, then lit up. The photo was still there, except the child had moved closer, just a few steps behind me. We had just moved in this morning. The house was old, but less than half the market price, because the previous owner was abroad. Mark said it was a rare opportunity. I just felt cold. Not cold because of the weather, but because the way the house was unusually quiet. Not a bird, no car, just the sound of old wood creaking every time someone walked by. What are you thinking? Mark asked. I looked around. It's just, this place feels strange. Like someone is still living here. He laughed. You've watched too many movies. Come on, laugh, take another picture for fun. I reluctantly stopped. Crack. I looked at the photo again. It was just the three of us. I breathed a sigh of relief, then the hallway door closed by itself, making a dry click. Mark turned. Did you lock the door? I shook my head. No. I opened it. Cold air hit my face. The atmosphere in the house suddenly changed, as if someone had just walked by. I raised my phone, took another photo, just to prove I was imagining it. The photo lasted less than 2 seconds before Noah shouted, Mom, she's on the stairs! I jerked my gaze to the new photo. Yes. In the corner of the stairs, under the yellow light, the child was standing there. Her head was slightly bowed, her hair covering half her face, and her eyes still looking straight at me. That night I couldn't sleep. Mark said I was haunted, and Noah kept asking, Mom, why won't she talk to me? I tried to smile. There is no sister. I was just dreaming. But when Noah turned away, I saw clearly. On the collar of his shirt, there was a small handprint in one black dust right at the back of his neck. I said nothing. I just quietly opened my phone, looked at the first photo again. And this time, zoomed in all the way, I saw the child's eyes, deep black, no whites, as if he wasn't just in the frame, but he was looking out, looking straight at me. I don't remember exactly when it started. I just know that morning the kitchen was unusually cold. Not the cold from the air conditioner or the wind, but the cold that penetrated the skin, as if something was standing in the house, breathing very softly. Mark was still asleep. Noah was sitting at the dining table drawing. I asked, What are you drawing, Noah? He didn't look up. His voice was small. The girl in the photo yesterday. I stood there, stunned. Which girl? She was standing under the stairs. I saw her at our house. I looked at the paper. 3 people, me, Mark, Noah, and a smaller girl, white dress, long hair. The face was blank, no eyes, no mouth. I snatched the paper back, trying to smile. No more drawing. Mom doesn't like this. Noah just whispered, She told Mom not to erase the pictures anymore. Then he turned away, continuing to color. I saw his back tremble slightly, as if he was scared, but he still did as someone told him. At noon, when I cleaned the kitchen, I discovered a water stain on the tile floor. The stain was thin, extending from the refrigerator to the sink, and clearly had a small footprint. Not a dry footprint, but a wet, cold footprint, as if someone had just stepped over it before the water had time to evaporate. I knelt down, reached out to touch it. It was indeed water. It was so cold that my skin was freezing. I quickly wiped it away, but the more I wiped, the more water spread. It was as if the floor was leaking. "Mark!" I called out. He walked in, looking annoyed. "What's this?" "Look at the floor. There's water. There's a footprint." He turned on the light and sat down. "The water pipe is not broken. Maybe it's the cold air from the refrigerator." I shook my head. "No, I heard footsteps, since you fell asleep." Mark frowned and tried to speak softly. "You're nervous. Rest. I'll install a camera tonight for peace of mind." I was about to nod when I suddenly saw the glass surface of the oven fog up. Amid the steam, thin lines gradually appeared, scribbled words, written with small fingertips. "I'm here." I stepped back. The air in the kitchen suddenly stood still. No wind, no sound of cars outside, only the tick-tock sound of the wall clock. Mark turned around, saw the words, and his face paled. He whispered, his voice trembling. "Who did this?" I asked again. "Are you sure you're not joking?" He snapped. "Do you think I have enough free time to write these words?" Then he quickly took out the old camera, placed it in the corner of the kitchen, and pointed it straight at the oven. "Tonight, if anyone comes, you'll know." That night, I didn't dare sleep. The house was dark, except for the hallway light and the steady sound of the ceiling fan. At 2 a.m., Mark's phone rang, signaling that the camera had detected movement. He jumped up. I held my breath and watched. The phone screen went black for a few seconds, then lit up. At first, nothing, but then, in the left corner, a small shadow slid across. No footsteps, no shadows. It stopped in the middle of the frame, slowly turning its head. The little girl's face appeared in the dim light, pale skin, deep black eyes, no whites, lips slightly parted as if smiling or talking. Then, in just a second, it moved closer to the lens. The screen blurred and disappeared. Mark cursed, rewinding. I just shivered. The second time I watched, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Just before it disappeared, it tilted its head, looking straight into the camera. It wasn't by accident. It knew we were watching. The next morning, I woke up very early. There was the same old water stain on the floor, cold, damp. Next to it was a small blue hair clip, like a girl's. I picked it up, my hands shaking. I was about to tell Mark, but I didn't. I was afraid he'd think I was crazy. I put the hair clip in the drawer and locked it. Then, from inside the wall came a soft knock. Knock. Just a knock, but it was loud. I stood still, my heart pounding. A few seconds later, another. Knock, knock. As if someone inside the wall was calling me. I don't know why I did that. Maybe because I couldn't stand the feeling of it appearing and disappearing. I wanted to verify it once and for all. I took out my phone, turned on the camera, and took 10 consecutive photos, from the living room to the second floor. With each photo, I changed the angle a little, carefully, like someone checking evidence. First photo, normal. Second photo, in the corner of the hallway, a blur appeared. Third photo, clearer, a picture of a child bowing his head. Fourth photo, he was standing next to the stairs. Fifth photo, right behind me, reflected in the mirror of the cupboard. And sixth photo, I almost dropped my phone. The child stood in the middle of the frame, looking straight at me. The distance was only about a meter. Deep, dark eyes, not reflecting light. Mouth slightly open, as if whispering something. I zoom in. On its lips, I can read, "Upstairs," I tell Mark. He is silent, not looking at me. "What do you think?" I ask. "I need to rest," he says, his voice dry. "Let's say the camera is faulty or someone is teasing you." "Do you think someone sneaked into the house without you knowing?" I snarl. He replies, "I just know. If you keep talking about the baby, Noah will be scared." I look at him. For the first time, I feel Mark is hiding something. The way he talks, the way he avoids my eyes, and the way he always locks the storage door on the side of the house, which I have never been in. That night, he went out to meet a client and came home very late. I sat in the living room with only yellow light, holding my phone, scrolling through the photos taken that morning. The child appeared in the first 6, then disappeared. But I discovered something I hadn't noticed at first. In each photo, it moved toward the attic, as if it was leading me. I couldn't help but take a chair and pull it under the attic lid. I reached out and pulled the rope. The wooden ladder fell down, dust flying everywhere. The air up there was cold and thick, smelling of iron and mold. I took a flashlight and climbed each step. On the ceiling, I saw small fingernail prints, long streaks. Some of them scratched all the way to the wood. In the corner, there was a photo frame face down. I picked it up. The photo was old, half damp, but still clearly recognizable. A girl about 8 years old, slightly curly hair, white dress, blue bow. Her eyes looked straight into the lens. Behind the frame, there was a scribbled pencil note, "Don't let me go down alone." I stood still, my heart pounding. At the foot of the ladder, I clearly heard Noah calling, "Mom, I'm standing next to you." I swept the flashlight around. No one was there. But the beam of light passed over a patch of wall where the wood had been scratched, revealing dozens of small, black, ash-like handprints. In the middle was a trace of the words, "Mom, I'm cold." I backed down, almost slipping off the ladder. When I touched the ground, Mark had just entered. He saw my pale face and asked, "What are you doing up there?" I saw this. I handed him the photo. He glanced at it, then he suddenly snatched it away. "Don't touch other people's things," he shouted. I was stunned. "What did you say?" He stopped, realizing he had misspoken. "I mean, it belonged to the previous owner. They left it behind." I looked at him for a long time. The look in his eyes at that time wasn't because of the ghosts, but because he was afraid I would know something. That night, I heard footsteps upstairs, not the voices of children. The footsteps were heavier, slower, steady, like adults walking. I called softly, "Mark?" No one answered. The footsteps stopped right above my room, then dragged something, heavy, scraping against the wooden floor. I picked up my phone, turned on the camera, and pointed it at the ceiling. The photo was blurry, but in it, in the crack of light in the roof, there were 2 small feet hovering, not touching the floor. I dropped my phone, my heart pounding, and at that moment Noah was screaming in his room. He pointed to the window. "My sister told me not to leave the house, Mom. Don't go out." I haven't slept for 3 nights, not because of footsteps or shadows anymore, but because of the feeling, in this house, someone who knows I'm starting to understand. That morning, I went out to buy milk. In front of the gate, Mrs. Harlow, the neighbor, was watering the plants. I said hello. She looked at me for a long time, then asked, "Do you often hear people walking around at night?" The question made me pause. I just nodded. She continued, her voice low. "Your previous owners, they heard the same thing. That staircase no one dared to go up before." I swallowed. "Who was the previous owner?" She was silent for a few seconds, then said, "The Whitakers. They had a daughter, missing about 20 years ago." I tried to keep my voice calm. "What was her name?" "Lily. She was so cute. She always wore a white dress with a blue ribbon in her hair. Everyone in the neighborhood loved her. Then one day she disappeared. The police came but found nothing. Then they moved away at night." I asked again, "They moved away, or did they run away?" She just looked at me, her eyes cloudy like old rainwater. "I just remember that night, the husband ran out. His shirt had something like blood on it. The police said it was just an accident, but, no one believed it." I thanked him, then turned back. My heart was beating fast. When I walked through the door, I saw Mark sitting at the dining table, looking at something on his phone. I said, "Do you know about the missing girl?" He looked up. "What?" "The previous owner of our house, Whitaker, had a daughter named Lily." He looked at me for an uncomfortably long time, then answered simply, "I don't care about old things." His voice was so calm, like someone who already knew and was trying to pretend not to know. In the afternoon, I tried to open the storage room at the side of the house, which Mark always kept locked. The old lock I gently pried open with a screwdriver. Inside was a dusty, damp smell and rotten paper. I found a small tin box with the old logo of the local photo shop. Inside was a roll of 35mm film and a few developed photos. I picked up the first one. It was a wedding photo. A couple stood in front of the stairs of this house. Behind them there was a shadow, the shape of a little girl. The second, a family photo, the father holding his daughter. The third, I saw Mark. He was standing next to the man in the photo, both in construction company uniforms, smiling at each other. Scribbled in the corner of the photo were the words, Alan and Mark, 2003, finished basement. I was shaking. Mark had said he never knew the previous owner. I looked around trying to stay calm. In my head, I heard Mrs. Harlow's words from that morning. He ran out that night, his shirt covered in blood. I was beginning to understand why Mark didn't want me to touch the photos. That night, I didn't say anything. Mark asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "Fine." He smiled, then locked the storage room door. When the lock clicked, I saw clearly. He had changed the lock. That night, I didn't dare sleep. The image of Mark in the old photo kept playing over and over in my head. I opened my phone and looked at the 10 photos I had taken that morning. This time, the baby was nowhere to be seen. But in the last one, taken as I pointed the camera toward the hallway, I noticed a man, Mark, standing right behind me. The problem was, I was alone. I started recording everything, no longer out of curiosity, but because I was afraid that if something happened, no one would believe me. At night, I turned on the recorder in the living room, hidden under the TV shelf. Mark was watching football, Noah was playing with Legos. The house looked completely normal, as if there had never been a knock, footsteps, or childish handprints. But the atmosphere was different, heavy, cold, like all the objects in the house were listening to us. At around 10 o'clock, Noah came and sat next to me, whispering, "Mom, Lily wants to play hide and seek." I asked again, "Who said that?" "She's in the wall. You just can't hear her." I tried to stay calm. "What did she say to you?" "She said, 'Someone will be found tonight.'" I looked straight into her eyes, about to ask more, when Mark spoke from the sofa. "Don't encourage her to talk nonsense." His voice was low and harsh. I replied softly, "I heard you. I heard you. And I've heard enough." The way he said it sent a chill down my spine. He stood up, turned off the TV, and walked straight upstairs. He didn't look at me. I coaxed Noah to sleep, then took out my phone and played the recording again. At first it was just me, Mark, and Noah, but when Mark turned off the TV, there was another voice, very small, very close to the mic, a little girl's voice whispering, "I'm cold, Mom." I hung up the phone, my heart pounding. I looked out into the hallway, dark, deep, silent. On the wall, the old water stain was now dry, but it reappeared in a different color, darker, like something was flowing from inside. I took the flashlight and looked closely. The streak ran straight from the floor to the ceiling, stopping at the vent, the one Mark had forbidden me to open. I reached up and touched it lightly. It was cold. At that moment, the flashlight went out. The kitchen was dark, and from behind me, I heard a loud knock. Knock, 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 3 times evenly, exactly 2 seconds apart. I turned around, my back pressed against the wall. No one. Only Noah's voice echoed from upstairs. "Mom, Lily said it's almost time." I ran up. Noah was sitting in the middle of the bed, eyes wide, voice flat, emotionless. "She's standing right behind you." I spun around. No one. But the window behind me was wide open, though I was sure it was locked. The cold wind blew, the curtains fluttering. The steam gathered on the glass, forming a scribbled line. Downstairs. I carried Noah out of the room, calling to Mark as I ran. No answer. I went downstairs, looked around. The living room was empty, the lights off. There was only the sound of the fan slowly turning, and the side door of the storage room was slightly open. I moved closer, my heart pounding. "Mark?" I called softly. No answer. I turned on the light in the storage room. On the floor was the tin box I had opened during the day. Photos, films, all scattered. Next to it was Mark's shirt, stained black on the shoulder and wrist. I bent down, touched it. Wet. The smell of iron filled my nose. Behind me, someone spoke softly, a man's voice. "I told you not to touch it." I turned around. Mark was standing in the doorway. The flickering light illuminated half of his face. His eyes were dark, his voice hoarse, cold, like a different person. "What do you think you're finding, Evelyn?" I didn't answer. He took a step forward, stopped. "Their business. Has nothing to do with you." "Them?" I asked. "Who are you talking about?" He smiled slightly, but his eyes didn't smile. "The old owner, Alan, Grace, they died a long time ago. Do you think that girl is still here?" I took a step back. "You know her?" He looked at me for a long time and said, almost in a whisper, "I was here when it happened." I don't remember what I did after that. I just remember Noah screaming, the lights going out, and in the darkness, two voices at once, Mark calling, "Evelyn!" and a smaller voice right next to my ear. "Don't trust him, Mom." I don't remember how many hours I slept that night, maybe less than one. When I woke up, Mark was out of the house. Noah had fallen asleep in my room, still clutching the teddy bear. I sat up, feeling like someone was watching, but the house was silent. I checked the recording from last night. From minutes 8 to 12, there were footsteps. Then Mark's voice, low and distorted, like someone talking close to the mic. "I told you not to touch it." Then a long silence. Finally, a small laugh. Not Mark's, not Noah's. A childish laugh. In the morning, I went to the storage door. The lock was new, but I had a spare key. I opened it, and the smell of metal hit me in the face. The floor was still littered with photos, but there was something new. A mini DV camcorder, a camera I had never seen in this house before. The screen still had batteries. My hands trembled as I turned it on. The first clip had a blurry date, 2003. The footage was shaky but clear. My stairs, the walls not yet painted. A man, Alan, the previous owner, held the camcorder, laughing. "Lily, say hello to Daddy." "Hi, Daddy?" Her voice clear, then the video cut. The next scene was evening. Lily was crying. Alan shouted, "You can't tell Mom what happened downstairs." "I'm scared of Uncle Mark." "Shut up." I stopped. My ears were ringing. I rewinded the frame. In the darkness behind Alan was Mark, younger, wearing a company uniform. He turned and whispered, "If you don't clean it up, someone will find it." Alan snapped, "You take care of the basement. I'll take care of the rest." Then the screen went black. Only the crying grew fainter and fainter, then stopped. I sat down, my hands shaking, the camera falling to the floor. The air was thick, smelling of damp, rust, and old blood. I opened the tin. There were several more tapes underneath. I didn't dare watch them all. I just took one and put it in my pocket. I called the police, but hung up. I knew if they came, I'd have to explain why I had these, and Mark would definitely know I'd watched them. That afternoon, Mark came home. He smiled as if nothing had happened. "Are you feeling better?" "Fine." "Good. I'm going to take Noah to Mom's tomorrow for a few days to give you a break." His voice was calm, gentle, but I knew, not because he was worried about me. While he showered, I went into the closet where he kept his wallet. I found his old ID card, the same logo as the company on the tape. The back was signed A. Whitaker. Mark had worked for Alan, not just a repairman, as he said. I took the card, hid it in my pocket, and put the camera in my suitcase. I knew I couldn't stay here another night. That night, as I was getting ready, my phone lit up. The screen showed a new video from the kitchen camera. I hadn't turned the camera on, but it sent it to me. The video, kitchen corner, lights flashing. Mark was sitting in the middle of the floor, holding a tin can, staring straight into the lens. His face was expressionless. He spoke slowly, clearly. "Evelyn, don't give her to anyone. You don't understand. She didn't leave. She's still here, and she chose you." He smiled slightly, a lopsided smile. Behind him, the refrigerator door opened, though no one had touched it. A small, pale hand reached out from the darkness inside. The screen went black. The video ended. I don't remember how many times I threw up. I just remember The next morning, carrying Noah out of the house without locking the door, keys, suitcase, phone, I took them all. I thought if I stayed, I might disappear like Lily. I returned to the house after 2 days. The police came with me, 3 of them. They said I needed to confirm the evidence. I just nodded, saying nothing. The house was unusually quiet. No wind, no birdsong. Even the smell was strange, musty, and something acrid like old metal. I showed them the place, the storage room on the side, mton where the wall in. The police asked, "Are you sure it's here?" I said, "Yes, right behind that layer of bricks." They turned on the light, used a sledgehammer. The sound of the pounding was deafening. The mortar fell, dust flying everywhere. I stepped back, my hand covering my mouth. As soon as the last brick fell off, a strong stench filled the air. A policeman shined his flashlight inside, then breathed heavily. "Oh my God!" Inside was a small chamber, only about 1.5 meters high, less than half a meter deep. There was a small skeleton curled up, its arms drawn up to its chest. On the skull was still a faded blue bow. I staggered, fell. I thought I was ready, but no one was ready to see that. A young policeman turned around and asked, "Where is your husband?" I didn't answer. At that moment, a noise came from upstairs. Thump, thump, like someone was walking. The lieutenant signaled for silence, pulled out his gun, and signaled the other 2 to disperse. I stood behind them, my heart pounding so hard my chest hurt. The footsteps stopped at the stairs. Then Mark appeared. His shirt was covered in dust, his hair was disheveled, his face was pale. He chuckled softly, his voice hoarse. "You don't need to look anymore." The lieutenant shouted, "Take your hands out of your pockets!" Mark didn't listen. He looked at me. "See, Evelyn? She can't leave here." He raised his hand. In it was an old tape. "Everyone thinks I killed her, but no, Alan did. I just helped cover it up." "Mark, stop talking." My voice trembled. "I need a lawyer." He laughed. "You don't understand. She's still here. She comes every night. She stands where you sleep. She asks, 'Why didn't you save her?'" He pointed to the wall he had just opened. "She's quiet now, see? I just want her to be quiet." The police rushed to restrain her. Mark resisted, screaming, "She's still looking! She's looking at you!" I looked in the direction he was pointing. In the wall cavity, the flashlight shined, and in the darkness, something glinted slightly, like open eyes. I screamed. A policeman dragged me out. I heard Mark struggling, someone shouting, "Hold him!" Then a loud banging on the wall, and then silence. They took me to the ambulance. I sat there, watching the house from a distance. The red flashing light reflected in the second-floor window. Noah's room. The curtains fluttered. A small figure stood by the door, long hair, white dress. I looked closely. It couldn't be Noah. It was shorter. "Stand still," and waved. I closed my eyes, turned away. When I opened them, the figure was gone. The police said Mark had been arrested. They found another adult skeleton in the basement, possibly Alan, and Grace, his wife, was never found. People believe she left, but I know. She never left that house. No one can leave. They called me in to identify. I stood in the middle of the forensic lab. The white light hurt my eyes. On the table were 2 cloth bags, one small, one large. The forensic officer said, "This is little Lily Whitaker, and this is Alan." I nodded. I don't know why tears didn't fall. Maybe because in that moment I didn't see them as strangers. Both, the killer and the victim, were trapped in that same house for 20 years. And I was the one chosen to end it. When the police asked why Lily died, I only said one sentence. Because adults always think they can bury everything with silence. But the truth is more complicated than that. In the last tape, I see Mark sitting in the attic opposite Alan. Alan screams, "She betrayed me! She lied to me too!" "Calm down, Alan. The neighbors will hear," Mark shouts. "I don't care. No one can know she's not mine." Lily's cries come from outside the frame. Then a slap, a bang. The screen shakes. Blood splatters onto the lens. Alan backs away, his hands shaking. Lily lies still, her head tilted. Mark freezes for a few seconds, then he runs over. "What are you doing, Alan?" "I didn't mean to." Then Mark grabs his shoulder, screams, "Oh God, what now?" Alan whispers, "Bury her. No one can know." They didn't just bury a baby. They buried their conscience. I cried when I saw that, not because I was afraid, but because I understood everything. The pictures, the handprints, the knocks, not to scare me. But Lily was leading me down the right path, step by step, until I found myself. Because I was like her, buried in silence, in fear, in the lies of the people I trusted. On the day of the trial, Mark pleaded not guilty to murder. He said, "I only helped Alan because I was scared. I didn't touch the baby." The police played the tape again. As Lily fell, Mark closed his eyes, but I saw clearly when, before he turned away, he put his hand on her head to keep it from hitting the floor. Not guilt, but remorse. He wasn't evil, he was a coward. Mark had chosen silence all his life, and it was that silence that killed him before the authorities could do anything about it. A few months later, the house was demolished. I went to look one last time. No stairs, no hallway, just an empty lot, overgrown with grass, the smell of cement and burnt wood. As the excavator lifted the last wall, I saw something fall out. An old photo, faded, with scorched edges. A photo of me, Mark, Noah, standing in the living room the first day we moved in. Behind us, reflected in the glass of the cabinet, Lily stood between us, smiling softly. Not scary, not haunting, just peaceful, like someone who'd been freed. That night, I played the old recording again. Lily's voice came back for the last time. Clearly, as if she were whispering in my ear, "Thank you, Mom." I hung up. No more sounds, no more tapping, no more cold, only silence. The silence that for the first time didn't scare me, because I knew under that wall there was more than just a dead child. There was also a truth that everyone tried to forget. The truth that sometimes the devil isn't out there, but inside those who know how to keep quiet when they should speak up.